Good evening and thank you all. I just have to say I am just both humbled and honored to have been invited to offer some comments at tonight's event. For you interns, a few short weeks ago you began this journey at your prospective programs. And I hope that your time that you spent working on behalf of the civil legal problems of low-income Pennsylvanians gave you a perspective not only about what it is to be a legal services advocate, but what it means to be a poor person with a legal problem. As I look out over this room, I have many friends, many colleagues, bar leaders, others, and of course those of you who spent your summers working on behalf of our clients in the various programs. I am so grateful for the Martin Luther King Jr. Internship Program, which, like many things, began many years ago with a dream. The year was 1991. It's possible some of you in this room weren't even born then. And several individuals had the dream of making legal services in Pennsylvania more racially and ethnically diverse. Fondly known today as the founding mothers, individuals such as Edie Benson, Carolyn Johnson, Debbie Johnson, Linda Rennick, and Phyllis Stevens worked together with the leadership then at the then Pennsylvania Legal Services Center and others to bring this dream to fruition. With the leadership and support of the staff at PLS and funding from Pennsylvania IOLTA, the Martin Luther King Jr. Internship was born. It was the first of its kind in the nation to honor the ideals of the late Dr. King, whose dream was to build a nation that reflects the strengths of all of its individuals, based not on the color of their skin, or their language, or their ethnicity, or their country of origin, or religion, or anything else, but on the content of their character. That too was the dream behind this program. At a time in our nation's history when we are bombarded daily with rhetoric and ideas that are aimed at separating and dividing us rather than bringing us together, the Martin Luther King Jr. Internship Program and the Fellowship Program remains true to the ideals that no matter where you come from or where you start at, each of us as individuals are valuable and we can offer something special and unique to the legal services community and the clients that we serve. This program's, like the dream of Dr. King and others, is a catalyst for change because it encourages future lawyers such as yourself to use the skills that you're gaining and will gain to address the issues of social injustice in this country. I recently came across a statistic from the World Justice Project, which is an independent organization, and they take surveys to advance the rule of law around the world. They recently reported that while the civil legal justice system in the United States is independent and free of undue influence, it remains one of the most inaccessible to the disadvantaged groups. And in fact, it ranks 21st out of 66 of the countries that were examined. In legal aid, we see those who are disadvantaged daily as we work to provide them with those with nowhere else to turn with legal representation. However, with all that we do, and all that private attorneys do who handle pro bono cases, it is still not enough. Many individuals are unrepresented in the courts. In Pennsylvania alone, there are about 1.9 million individuals who qualify for civil legal aid. But statistics show, and I'm sure you've all heard this, that because of resource issues, we can only serve about 20% of those individuals. That leaves 80% of folks, low-income folks, who are either trying to navigate the legal system alone or give up on their legal problems. However, I'm here today because I too believe in a dream that poor people like those with means will have an attorney who can represent them when legal problems that they can't resolve arise in their lives. Because as we all know, and I'm sure you students found out through your internships, without legal assistance, many problems that could be resolved with the lawyer, when they're not resolved, they can and do escalate. A family with a custody matter that could have been resolved had they had legal services may end in violence. Families facing foreclosure or illegal evictions may lose their housing, forcing them to rely on the assistance of shelters, which is much more costly. An individual denied unemployment compensation or health care will not have money to buy food, maintain their housing, or pay for needed medical supplies. And what about the individual who can't be hired because of a decades-old criminal record? All of these situations have dire consequences for our clients and the individuals and families we serve. And these are the very issues that we address every day in an attempt to alleviate the effects of poverty on our clients. It is important work that we do. And if not us, then who? And as I conclude, because I was told to be brief, let me state that I am not some important individual. I am merely an individual who chose a career path of serving some of the most vulnerable citizens. Without a doubt, this path has afforded me some of the greatest joys in my life. I've seen families smiling when their homes have been saved, or when they have been granted benefits, or have been kept safe. It has been a joy to provide a listening ear, understanding, and hope, while using my skills as a lawyer to represent them. While I wish I could say that I have won every case, saved every home, or never lost a client to the death because of domestic violence, I can't. But at the end of the day, I can offer you the words of encouragement from the late Nelson Mandela, someone who we all knew struggled mightily in his own country to overthrow an unjust system. Mr. Mandela wrote, "Overcoming poverty is not a task of charity. It is an act of justice. Like slavery and apartheid, poverty is not natural. It is man-made, and it can be overcome and eradicated by the actions of human beings. Sometimes it falls on a generation to be great. You can be that generation. Let your greatness blossom." Thank you again for this opportunity. I'm deeply grateful for your service this summer, and I wish you all the best as you finish your law school career and begin your legal careers. Thank you very much.
This year, we have selected Rondell Jordan to speak on behalf of his class. He has just completed his first year at Pitt Law, and as you'll see from this young man, he has a bright future ahead of him, as all of our interns do. Rondell?
I just finished my second year, but thank you.
Oh, sorry.
It's okay. Thank you so much, man. First, I would like to thank the Pennsylvania Legal Aid Network for allowing me the opportunity to speak today on behalf of my fellowship class. This evening, I'd like to talk a bit about silence. In particular, I'd like to speak about the injustice of silence. A few weekends ago, I took a trip with a friend to Niagara Falls. While I was there, I decided to take a brief boat tour to view the falls up close. While on the boat, I noticed a family of 6 or so who appeared to me to be of Middle Eastern descent. Almost as soon as I saw them, I was overcome with unease. For the rest of the tour, I found my attention floating between the beauty of the falls and what I perceived as ugliness in this family. I did not make an obscene gesture towards the family, nor did I say or do anything outwardly offensive towards them. On the contrary, I remained silent. Feeling relieved as the tour concluded and I stepped safely back onto the dock, I paused for a moment and I thought to myself, Why did I feel that way about this family? I knew nothing about them at all. I didn't even know for sure that they were Middle Eastern. And I certainly didn't have any reason to believe that they meant to do me harm. As the answer to my question became apparent, I felt ashamed. I felt uncomfortable because I had made assumptions about them based on their appearance. Assumptions that I had developed over years to make myself feel safe. Assumptions that I used to put an entire family into a box of who I thought they were. I was embarrassed because just prior to that weekend, I had publicly expressed my frustration when police officers had done the same thing that I had done. I was outraged when the assumptions of a few officers led to the death of 2 black men. Now, my assumption that they didn't lead to anyone dying in Canada, however, they did cause harm. I had quietly discriminated against that family, and the ugliness that I thought I saw in them was actually my own ugliness being reflected at me through them. The ugliness of my implicit biases, the ugliness of my silent assumptions. You know, we try to ignore these biases because they remind us of an unflattering aspect of ourselves. We ignore them and then pretend that they could not possibly affect our decision making. We were wrong. I was wrong. Whenever we make assumptions about an entire group of people, we steal from them one of their most valuable assets, their individuality. We rob them of their humanity. Sometimes this theft can lead to uneasy looks on a boat in Canada. Sometimes it can lead to the shooting deaths of a man in Baton Rouge or Minnesota. And sometimes it can lead to the shooting deaths of police officers in Dallas or Baton Rouge. Challenging our implicit biases is really hard work. But Shahira, Hermione, Peter, Liz, Taylor, Ariel, Zoe, Chandra, and Barack, and myself have begun to do the hard work. We have all committed ourselves to working closely with people who are too often grouped and labeled. People who regularly have their individuality stolen from them. If Dr. King was a drum major for justice, then we are all the rest of the band. As lawyers, as law students, as people, we must acknowledge these silent injustices and drown them out with empathy and understanding. We have to do the hard work and view people as who they are and not who we assume them to be. Thank you.